In this video, we are going to tell you about what is assessment and the different types of assessment under GST. Assessment is the process of determining a taxpayer's tax liability. It has a certain process which helps to figure out exactly how much tax should be paid. There are 6 types of assessment, namely self-assessment, summary assessment, provisional assessment, regular assessment, protective assessment, and best judgment assessment. In self-assessment, the tax liability is calculated by the assessee himself based on his own records and declares the same in return filed by him. In provisional assessment, a taxable person by making a request to the assessing officer, and such request can make only when he is not able to determine the value of the supplies or he is not certain about the tax rate. Thus, whenever an assessee fails to ascertain the value of supply or the tax rate, he will make a detailed request in writing to the proper officer indicating specific reasons for which tax payable cannot be ascertained, time period, rate of duty, and undertaking to appear before the proper officer on the date fixed by him and furnish all relevant documents. If the proper officer, satisfied with all the information furnished to him by the assessee, he will issue a specific order. The final assessment order must be passed within 6 months from the date of communication of the provisional order. This period can be extended if the sufficient cause is shown, but not more than 6 months or for the period which the Commissioner may deem fit. Regular assessment is that assessment which is made after a thorough examination of all the relevant records or documents and hearing the assessee or his representative. Protective assessment is an assessment by which the amount of tax owed is determined, but usually not collected. For example, if a taxable income has accrued to the assessee and he migrates from the country, the protective assessment will be implemented retrospectively. Best judgment assessment are such assessments which are made either ex parte or by rejecting the accounts of the assessee. It has 2 parts: assessment of non-fillers and assessment of unregistered persons. In assessment of non-fillers of return, if the final return is not filed even after the notice, then the proper officer can assess the tax liability according to the best judgment assessment and issue an assessment order. In assessment of unregistered person, if a person who is liable for registration does not get registered, the proper officer can assess the tax liability according to the best judgment assessment and issue an assessment order. In scrutiny assessment, the proper officer can scrutinize the return to verify its correctness, but it is not a mandatory process. In summary assessment, the assessing officer calculates the liability of the assessee on the basis of returns filed by taxpayer, and the liability determined is communicated to the taxpayer. To know more on GST, please refer to other videos by LegalRaasta. You can also log on to our website www.legalraasta.com. In fact, you can get GST registration and GST filing services from LegalRaasta. CAs or accountants can use LegalRaasta software for filing GST return. Call us at 875 000 8585 for more details.